Alright, so I have to make another video, yet I'm pressed for time. That means we are going to be doing this reaction style. You get to see me wear my headphones. Now today, we are going to be looking at flat earthers trying to explain the sun and moon. Here's the first video, and boy is it good. It's from our friend, our favorite flat earther, Phuket.
Any model can be created from the predictive nature of sunrise and sunset, or watching the moon go overhead and watching its phases throughout a month. It is the predictability of these earthbound observations that are then interpreted into a model.
Okay, so I'm not entirely sure what he's getting at here. Well, I mean, I am, because I've watched pretty much the whole video before doing this, but that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense on its own. The predictability of the sun and moon, that's why we think that we know the shape of the earth, because there's a lot of things that the regular, normal people idea of the shape of the earth it can explain, not just how the sun rises and sets or how the moon rises and sets. It's also, you know, how the sun doesn't change angular size throughout the day as it would on a flat earth. The shape of the planets, not the shape of the planets, the motion of the planets across the sky. They make loop-de-loops. Even ancient astronomers recognized that the planets, they just didn't take a normal path. They were called the wandering stars. And there's no reason for that on the flat earth. Not that there's any reason for the sun, moon, and stars to be moving on the flat earth anyway. They never explain how or why the sun is moving in the sky. What's keeping it in that circular pattern. It's just, it's magic.
And the heliocentric model is just one of many possible models, but it of course is based on the assumption that the sun is at the center and the Earth is another planet orbiting the sun.
Okay, all right. Many possible models? No. How many possible models do you think there could be? Of course, this guy is going to think that other models are much more possible than would, say, a normal educated human being, because he thinks the Earth is flat. But that's not possible for a number of reasons. But it's not an assumption that the sun is the center of our system and that the Earth revolves around it. In fact, it took a long time to convince the most educated people on Earth that this was the case. And need I remind you why that was? It was because religion didn't want the sun to be the center of the world. The system, the solar system. See, look, I'm not great at speaking.
But really, these are just calculations and illustrations based on earthbound observations. Again, it is the predictability of seeing or knowing a sunrise or a sunset at a certain time that is then used and interpreted to create an imaginary model to have us perceive the Earth as being somewhere in space.
Self-awareness. This guy has no self-awareness. He's saying that we just decided this arbitrarily based off some calculations some smart guy did in a lab or something. That's kind of what they're doing, minus the smart guy. They're taking this arbitrary idea that sun moves across the sky, moon moves across the sky, so does the stars, and they're saying, oh, anything could explain this. We could just make some calculations and decide that this is a flat Earth and that the sun is this far away and it goes like this. You're using the same observations as us, although markedly less of them and the markedly less important ones, to arbitrarily decide that your model of the universe is correct. But there's so many world governments that have space agencies, including a lot of European governments that work together, as well as India, China, Russia. And they're all saying the same thing, that the Earth is a globe and that it revolves around the sun, that the moon revolves around the Earth. They're all saying the same thing. They all have the same model, and these guys are ignoring it. Ever since Aristotle, we've had scientific arguments and proof that the Earth is indeed a globe. But no, we just decided it arbitrarily, and all us sheep apparently just go to school listening to the government tell us about the shape of the Earth so that they can hide something in Antarctica? I don't know.
And of course, this is a very difficult image to break away from, or to perceive things as being any different to what we've been taught since we were children, hanging solar systems in the classroom and being shown the same kind of illustrations over and over again, and having it passed off as irrefutable scientific fact that we're on a spinning globe orbiting the sun with a moon orbiting the Earth.
Right, that's why nobody believes you. That's why there's only a fringe amount of people that think that the world is a fucking pancake. Because they're just brainwashed by the government and the school system. Or maybe it's kind of dumb to go back on thousands of years worth of science. I mean, there's no real flat earther out there that has a 2-scale model of Earth that's 100% accurate. They always say, oh no, this is just for illustration, or we don't know this is 100%. Yeah, well, why not? You know, we've had so much time to research this, and these guys, these basement scientists couldn't figure it out.
So what I'd like to do here is just show a very crude and simple presentation that isn't meant to do anything other than illustrate how we can interpret the observations of the sun and the moon in a different way other than what we have been taught to believe or has been passed off as scientific fact.
So what he has before him is an azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe. And he's going to show us how the sun and moon work on the flat Earth. But it's not to scale. This is merely just an illustration to show you how you could interpret things. There's so many things wrong with this. I mean, first off, look at Australia. I promise you, Australia is not shaped like that.
So what we have here is a flat Earth map. And again, this isn't to say that the Earth looks like this or that it has these dimensions.
Right. This is not to say that flat earthers have any idea of what reality really is, because you could never know, because any sort of model that they come up with, there's going to be problems with it that they cannot reconcile. So this is just to show us how it's perceived. And I'm sure if we skip ahead here, yeah, it's the just the sun and moon rotating above, but they're not moving up and down the equator because he decided not to show the seasons in this model for some reason. Like, we get it. Like, we understand what you're saying, that the Earth is flat and that it looks like that and the sun and moon are circling above us. This seems like a very surface level introduction to the flat Earth. And that's kind of what flat earthers do the most. They give you a surface level introduction to the flat Earth. They're doing exactly what they're against. They're against the government and the schools indoctrinating us sheep into thinking of their model of the shape of the Earth. But all they're doing is telling us what the model of the Earth really is. And the focus is not on proving themselves, although they do try, I'll give them that. But that's definitely not the focus. They'd rather say, oh, here's how it really is. Here's how it really works. They're trying to educate us, yet they hate education. I think that's about it for this video. See if we can find another one that's interesting. Oh, is this Phuket word again?
So we'll play the clip and you can see that the aircraft is coming over And if you imagine this being the same as looking up at the sun as it does a circle above us, we'll see that it comes overhead, and then I have to turn around and basically face the other way as it goes off into the distance. And this is the kind of observation that we make from the equator. And the aircraft is doing this wide circle but maintaining a consistent height, but of course appears to sink towards the horizon. So let me just...
He says that it seems to sink towards the horizon, yet he doesn't show that at all. The closer it gets to the horizon, the less it looks like it's sinking below the horizon. And it looks like he never shows this plane being close to the horizon, because if it is indeed keeping a circular path, as he says, and that circular path is... Basically, he would see that he's wrong, but of course he doesn't show that. And apparently he moves on to another clip. Oh, that was beautiful. That was the sun going below the horizon. The horizon that wouldn't exist on a flat Earth. And it would not... The sun wouldn't go below the horizon on a flat Earth. I assume he's going to talk about that, and that would be interesting.
The sun appears to veer off to the right as it gets further away. So to me, this indicates that it is doing a circle. This is where we start to see the evidence that the sun is doing a circle around or above.
Okay, so it goes off to the right ever so slightly. It would be so obvious when it's close to the horizon like this. Yet when we see that it's close to the horizon, it keeps going down until it goes below the horizon. If this was a flat Earth, the closer to the horizon it would be, the more horizontal it would be traveling from our perspective. But no, it goes off to the right ever so slightly in this one clip.
Which was about 6:30 p.m. on the 23rd of February.
Okay, so it was February, so it was winter, so the sun was about here, I think. So, the Earth rotated like this. Notice what Phuket is doing, right? So, we are the sun in this instance, and we're zooming in so far, we're looking right at the Earth, and the Earth is rotating. You see, Phuket starts up here and ends up rotating down this way, ever so slightly. Look at that. Look at that. So if we imagine a straight line up here, he's lower on the straight line of where he was relative to the sun. That, to me, explains the slight rightward movement of that particular sunset. Then it's taken a huge, massive circle above a flat Earth. You would see a much more drastic difference on the flat Earth. I assure you. Nick, I think his name was Nick. I forget. As fun as this has been, I'm gonna have to end this here. I have things to go and do, and I might already be slightly late, but that's fine because I was making this for you guys. So, tell me if you like this formula of me reacting. Tell me if you like the Scooby-Doo game back there. Because, see, the joke is I look like Shaggy. I hear that all the time. Oh, who looks like Shaggy? It gets funnier every time I hear it. If I had, like, Pokemon Sun and Moon, I would have put that there because it would be... But I don't have it. Anyhow, goodbye. Thanks for watching. I love you.